Okay, hello and welcome back to Fanteam Focus. It's the live show. We're going to be talking about all things Fanteam. We've got the Fanteam Weekly Monster Preview. We've got our £1 million teams. We'll be going through Sean's, myself and Jack's as well. Let's say hello to the lads. Firstly, Sean, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, mate. Thank you.
Jack, I'll just let you guys know, Jack has got the man flu, right? So we're going to go easy on him today. Jack, how are you doing?
Feel like $1 million, mate. Yes. I'm soldiering on though. I'm here. I'm soldiering on.
He's a trooper, guys. He is a trooper. So like I said, we're going to be talking about Fanteam, the monster, the £1 million game, etc. Jack's going to talk a little bit of NFL at the end as well, if we can keep him alive throughout the stream. So do hit a like on the video. Do subscribe, especially if you're new, and you probably are new because it's a brand new-ish channel. We're sponsored by Ultimate Fan today, so we're happy to have them. Ultimate Fan is a mixture between fantasy football and pack openings. There's a £300,000 worth of prize money up for grabs, and they've got a really cool little phone app as well. Sean, you're doing really well on Ultimate Fan at the moment, did you say? Or you won some money last week?
Yeah, I managed to get, I can't remember where it was in the end, but I got like £5 back, which is the monthly subscription you pay to get the extra pack. So sort of paid for itself that month. So hopefully we'll climb up the leaderboard this weekend.
So maybe we'll get a section, we're thinking, with Sean details his team and stuff, because I'm not quite that into it yet, where I know what's going on. Jack's the same, I think he plays, but hasn't really got like his head around the details. So we'll get that. Let us know in the comments if you want to see that. We'll get that up for you. Firstly, today, we're going to look at the number one team in the world on Fanteam. So I pulled this, I had a little look at this earlier on today. I thought it was quite interesting, right? Firstly, Sean, what interested me is that when you go beyond position number 1, position number 2, 3 and 4 are all the same person, right? Steve 1980-81 has got 55 grand plus 55 grand plus 55 grand. It's mad, isn't it?
Not bad, is it? Almost as much for those three spaces than it is for the first. But we said off air that I think it's quite a common sort of strategy, especially along the bigger players. They tend to put in blocks of 5, 10 of the same team, keep them in those blocks for the majority of the season. And if they're doing well, sort of back end, they can then branch out with different captains or different transfers towards the end. I know, obviously, myself and Jack play the NFL season long, and I think a couple of weeks ago there was one person that was sort of the top 25 places were all the same person.
Yeah, he was top 25. He had the same lineup, 25 with the same lineup.
Yeah, so it's definitely a strategy. But yeah, all I think about in terms of that is, well, I've only got to get ahead of one team effectively, and I'm jumping 25 places there. So it has its upsides and its downside. But yeah, it's definitely a strategy. I think Josh had mentioned it before, last year's winner. I think he's done that a lot in the season long and the Champions League one as well.
You can see here he's got Foster in goal. So this is the world number 1 now we're talking about. So he's got Foster in goal and Sanchez. So he's got like 2 playing goalkeepers, which is handy. He's got Cancelo, James, Trent and Chilwell, right? So the back 4, which is kind of so popular at the moment. He's got Son in there, which he's brought in last week. I think that's right. So St. Maximin to Son, Mount to Jota.
Yeah.
He's got Tony up front as well. And Tony's just smashing it, isn't he, with these 90-minute points. Armstrong, Livramento, Rafinha. Is that Gelhardt last on his bench? So he's got that strategy where he's playing like a non-playing striker. Jack, what have we got to do, mate? What have we got to do to get up to this kind of level?
Enter the same team.
Copy his team.
Copy. No, this is actually a really, really nice team. I mean, he's going to have a little bit of work to do now with Ben Chilwell, who's done his ACL, I believe.
Yeah.
That's a bad injury to get. So he's going to have a little bit of work to do there, unless he just pivots straight to Alonso, which would make sense. But he's got Livramento in there, so could bring him in. I don't know what you do to beat this. It's such a strong team. Look at it all around. There's hardly any weaknesses, is there? Maybe the goalies, but
Yeah.
They both get a lot of saves, don't they, between the two of them, Sanchez and Foster. And Sanchez, Sean mentioned it last week with Sanchez. He's been really good, like in the early part of the season for fantasy. So yeah, this is a strong looking team at the minute. Obviously, bar Ben Chilwell there.
What do you reckon about the Chilwell question then for Kartalov, Sean? What do you think he'll be looking at doing this week?
I'm in the same sort of position. I think my best team has also got Chilwell in. And I can pretty much afford anyone. I've already got Trent and Cancelo, so I can pretty much afford any defender to come in for him. So it's whether or not, like you said, like Jack said, do you pivot to Alonso, thinking that he's going to play the majority of games, or do you drop down a lot further and then use that money elsewhere? Now, looking at his team, he's obviously got Tony, who I think is a really good pick. But you've then got Armstrong and Gelhardt. So it's not the strongest attacking lineup. Armstrong seems to be a bit in and out. So whether he'll then look to pivot and maybe put a bit more money into the attackers, I think that could be the way he goes. But I think I'm probably about, I want to say about 80 points behind at the moment, maybe 100. Not massively behind. It seems a lot. But I think the thing you have to remember with Fanteam rather than FPL, there are no chips other than the 2 wildcards. So when it comes to those blanks and the double game weeks, if you can plan in advance to have transfers in hand to get the right sort of people in, then I think that's where you could potentially make a lot of gains.
That is a very good point. I haven't actually considered that yet because as like a big FPL player, you save your chips, don't you? Or I certainly do save my chips until this season, the second half of the season, when we expect those double game weeks to happen. So I think, like you said, in Fanteam, maybe you need to be a bit more aware of those more in advance and maybe even plan more for them than you do in FPL. And I know some people believe that like sometimes the planning can go a bit overkill. World number 2 here, I brought up next, and obviously he's got 3 teams. We're just showing the top one at the moment. But they're all on the same points, 917.2.
Yeah, it's the same team.
So they're identical teams, you reckon, Jack?
Yeah, they are. As Sean mentioned, we're seeing a similar tactic in the season-long NFL contest at the minute. The top 25 teams in that. Although I do believe he got nudged off of top spot last week. So, but other than that, he's there from 2 to 26 with the same lineup in the season-long NFL. So it seems a popular tactic on Fanteam at the minute.
It's looking good if it wins as well, right? This guy's in the hundreds of grands at the moment.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. Like if you can smash it twice. For me, I've never ever played DFS like that, but DFS is a game of learning, and I'm learning as well. So it's definitely something I'm taking note of going forward.
Senior, mate.
I think there are definitely people that max enter. I don't know what the maximum was in the FPL one or the season long. I think it's 25 in the NFL, but I don't know if it's like 100 in the football one. But I think a lot of people, whether it's a strategy or not, but I think just because of ease, if you try and manage 100 different teams, obviously it's just impossible. So they definitely sort of break it into blocks and then look to diversify sort of later on in the season.
Like you say, Sean, they can just take one player out, couldn't they, and like do a little swap on that lineup, just to make it a bit differential come the last couple of weeks of the season or something, and they could end up taking the top spot with that lineup.
And I guess once you start making that one change to 1 or 2 of your teams that are similar, it just branches off into a completely different thing, especially if you do it more than towards the end, if you do it like in the middle of the season or whatever. But Sean, you were saying to me that there's a way, right, that if you're managing multiple teams, you can link them together so you can make the same transfer like with one click, is it?
Yeah, I know there's a few. We've got a Champions League sort of group that have been chatting about it, and in that they have done like blocks of 5 and 10. So at the start of the season, you can link them together so that when you do what change in one, it asks you if you want to replicate it in the others. So it does save you having to do, because like I said, if you branch off too early, you've got 50 different teams with 10 weeks to go. It's just all it's going to do is just take up all your time you're probably going to split. I think I've tend to do it when I've got 3 or 4 teams. You tend to try and cover all bases rather than stick with the core of what you think's going to do well, and then just go for the odd differential. I think if you go too wide, you then just try and cover every base, and it just waters down the teams you've got.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. He's got Steve here. He's got Mbumo, Foden, Salah, Son. He's got Mane as well in his team. He's got Tony Woodman as backup goalkeeper. He's got Mopé, Tierney, and I can't quite see who the Aston Villa player is on the bench.
Keenan Davis.
There we go.
Yeah, Davis.
Trent, Rudiger, Cancelo, James. Go on, Sean, what you're saying?
It's very similar, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, again, we're seeing that not quite that same back four, but Rudiger instead of, your Chilwell or whatever.
But Rudiger's a 90-minute man anyway, isn't he? So you're getting that bonus there as well. So
yeah. Okie dokie, let's have a look at Jack's Game Week 13 £1 million team. I've got how his team performed on one side last week. I've got how Jack's got his team set up on the right-hand side. I'll talk you through it because I know Jack's did a little bit poorly. So Schmeichel last week, 1.7 points. He had a difficult fixture, right? I think it was against Chelsea. Yeah, I can see there, Chelsea 1.7.
Yeah.
Chilwell has absolutely smashed a few though, isn't he? 9.9 points there. He's done all right?
Yeah, he was great last week. I mean, it's such a shame to lose him in midweek. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched that game, but Chelsea absolutely destroyed Juventus. And Juventus are, they're a strong team, but that's the best performance I've seen from Chelsea. I know they've been good under Tuchel, but that was the best performance I've seen from a Chelsea team. Ever. They just destroyed Juventus, absolutely destroyed them.
Seiss then 6.3. He's doing bits for you, mate. Seiss is doing bits for you, despite me not being confident of him earlier on in the season. Livramento 0.7. A couple of people getting a bit worried about Livramento. I think it's fair to say now, fixtures and everything. Townsend 3.1. Son 3.3. Salah, captain, 19.4. Happy days. Gallagher, 5.4. I think he rocked out with an assist. Smith Rowe, 2.7. Smith Rowe finally not getting points for once, right? Antonio, 2.7.
Yeah.
Ronaldo, 6.1. But look, tell me about this, Jack. Who was first on your bench, pal? Can you remember?
Sorry?
Can you remember who was first on your bench?
What, last week?
Yeah.
Benteke.
The man himself. The man, the myth, the legend.
Which is why he's in this week. He keeps scoring, so I've just gone straight with him this week. He's straight into this lineup. Obviously, I've lost Chilwell, but that I just straight swap with Cancelo. I think that speaks for itself. The swap there. I could have gone to Alonso, I suppose, but I do worry with Alonso. You've seen it. He has 2 or 3 really good games, and then he has one of these sort of bad games, does something a bit silly, and he seems to fall out of favour with Tuchel quite easily. So I do worry with Alonso a little bit moving forward. But I like to see him. So I've took Townsend out as well. He's dropped down to the bench this week. Everton have just been poor, haven't they, the last few weeks? So hopefully Tottenham get going. I mean, shock defeat in Europe the other day. Yesterday, sorry.
That was bad, wasn't it?
It was bad. I mean, that team were the lowest ranked team, I believe, in that Europa Conference League, which is, you could see Conte was fuming after it as well. So some of these, I don't think Son played, but
no.
I know Moura and Kane obviously linked up for a goal in that game as well. So I think some of them I kind of said it when Conte went there. They're going to be in for a rude awakening, and some of them Tottenham players are going to feel the wrath of that defeat. So hopefully Son can get going this week. And as I say, captaining Salah, and in the £1 million team, if you don't captain Salah, I just think you're in a hell of a lot of trouble. I will always pivot away from him in the weekly monster, like I spoke about before. But if you don't do it in this £1 million game, then I think you're in a world of trouble.
I like your moves, Jack. I gotta say, the old Chilwell to Cancelo, just sensible. Like we highlighted last week, I think, wasn't it? How good Cancelo's been in Fanteam, and I think that's just an easy move. You made the right decision there. I like the fact you dropped Townsend down to the bench and brought Benteke in. I think this team looks really solid, like in my opinion. What do you reckon, Sean?
I always love seeing a team where it's got 1% ownership against one of your players, which is obviously what Benteke's got there. And he's also had, I'm just looking at the stats, he's had the second most shots in the last 4 game weeks as well. So you can't really argue with that. He's had more shots than Salah in the last 4 weeks. Yeah. So yeah, and like Jack said, I think you've got to go Salah captain. As much as you want to try and go away from it, you just got to stick with the pack for the time being. I think another thing, like we said earlier about the no chips, I think a thing to bear in mind, I don't think Jack's too bad here, but if you've got players like Salah, Mane, Saiss, Sarr, you've got to bear in mind that in January they're going to be going to the African Cup of Nations. So you just got to be wary of if having too many. If you've got Mendy in goal, I don't think many of the teams at the top would potentially have that, but that's just another thing to sort of bear in mind for after the Christmas period.
Do you think that goes ahead, Sean? Just based on what's going on on the continent of Africa at the minute, it's that South African variant. And
I don't know. It'll be, I suppose, I don't know how many game weeks there are, because obviously it's only 6 weeks until it starts, but you've probably got 10, 11, 12 game weeks before that. So I think for the next few game weeks, you've got plenty of time to assess it, to see what happens with it. But yeah, it's definitely one to keep an eye on.
Sean, we got you up next, mate. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your team?
Yeah, so last week I had Jose Sarr in goal, so he's eventually come good with a clean sheet. Got the back three of Chilwell, Alexander-Arnold and Cancelo, which I think is just standard at the minute, really. Salah captain, 19 points. I had Jota in there. I've had him in for a while, so I'm glad that he's sort of come good now. Mount, hopefully he's going to produce a little bit more. He's been a bit quiet the last few weeks, but I think he'll start. I then got the West Ham double of Bowen and Antonio. I think I want to try and get rid of Antonio, but I know they've got tricky fixtures the next 3 or 4, but then they do have an amazing fixture run after that. So I suspect he may have gone this week, but obviously the Chilwell injury sort of forced my hand a little bit. Tony, I think he'll just stay 50% owned, and he gets you 3 points guaranteed, and does seem to be coming into a bit of form now. And again, I think Ronaldo, the new manager, and again their fixtures turn in the next couple of weeks, so I think that's decent as well. So I'm happy enough with the team at the minute, really. The only problem I've got this week is obviously I've got Chilwell, who I'll need to replace, and I'm not too sure who I'm going to go with yet. I might go, I was about to say I might go Van Dijk, but I can't go Van Dijk because I've already got 3 Liverpool. So I'm thinking I might drop down to go for Gay at Crystal Palace. They've got decent fixtures coming up. He's 4.5 million. And then the nearly £2 million. I've got nothing in the bank at the minute. So the £2 million that I'll save on it, I can then use elsewhere to either upgrade Antonio maybe, or just be good to have some money in the bank, really. But I have got double West Ham this week against Man City. That is the only downside. But Bowen has looked decent in the last few games. Antonio was rested, so they look threatening in most games. So you can't have the perfect team every week. So I'm happy enough just to go with them this week.
I'm similar to you on Antonio, Sean. I'm trying to sort of pivot away from him, but obviously I had the Chilwell situation this week, so I couldn't do it. I suppose I could have put in Townsend in my lineup over Antonio, but I think I'd rather just chance Antonio over Townsend at the minute, the way Everton have planned. Yeah,
I agreed. But I think there could be a few decent-ish options coming forward from the forwards, especially in the sort of over the Christmas period. I would quite like to get Watkins in at some point. When he's 7.5, so he's about the same as Antonio. So it'll be an easy swap. It's just when I get there, I don't really want to put a -4 on it. So.
Yeah.
What would you say then, Sean, about... I hear your concerns about Antonio and Bowen against City. Is there anyone on your bench you would maybe consider playing over them? I can see you got Ben White there and Norgard as well, is it?
Yeah, I mean, Norgard, I've said about this on the pod I do for all the stats and stuff every week. I just think he is if you're not playing 5 midfield, which obviously a lot of the top teams seem to have been there, they had their sort of the cheaper player was the third striker. But I think if you're only playing 4 midfield, he's the perfect 5th midfielder. He plays every week. I think he's played 11 of the 12, 90 minutes as well. and he's looked really threatening the last few weeks. He's had 7 shots for them on target. So he's about 12th or 13th in the list for shots. And for a $4.5 million player, midfielder, I think he's perfect for your bench. And if he does need to come on, he's going to get 3 points, which is all you want, really. I could play Ben White, but I fancy Newcastle will score. And there's not really much upside to Ben White apart from a clean sheet. So Christensen's the one that's mudding it. I just don't know. I don't know if he'll start. He's a good player to have, though, because I think he either plays or he doesn't. So as long as you've got decent coverage on your bench, it's just, do I really want to start them against Man U, especially because I've got Ronaldo? I think Man U may well score. So
what's your thoughts in terms of transfers then? Chilwell, did you say Chilwell to down to Gay?
It's definitely going to be Yeah, I think it'd definitely be Chilwell out. I mean, like, I could go Alonso. I haven't got James. But I think if you're going to bring Alonso in, I'd be happy enough to wait a week, see what happens in this game if he does play, and then make the move, because I just think it's the perfect game to probably miss. I know Man United haven't been great so far, but it is Man United and they've got world-class players. So I think I will look to drop it down to someone like Gay, or maybe sort of like Loughton or someone like that at Burnley, just to then have the funds available to make a move next week potentially.
With this Alonso thing then, Jack, I hear you say Tuchel, sometimes Alonso will make a mistake, right, and find himself out of the team.
Yep.
Who do you think would be, now that Chilwell's out, you kind of need a backup for Alonso, right? Who do you think would play that? Because Alonso can't play every single game now, right, until Chilwell comes back. So what options do you have?
You might see sort of Hudson-Odoi move back somewhere to that position. I mean, you saw Cesar Aguero, he come on against Juventus and played. He come on for Chilwell, so you might see something like that. But yeah, my guess would be one of them two. Hudson-Odoi has done sort of stuff like that in the past. He's come back, played in them wing back positions, so wouldn't say it's his best position, but he can do it. So it's also that we lost Kante in that game against Juventus as well.
Oh yeah,
so it's another little interesting thing to note as well. So, but Loftus-Cheek looked excellent when he come on. He controlled the game, looked absolutely brilliant. So just something to note.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking,
is Kovacic still out at the minute?
Yeah, Kovacic is out. Yeah,
so that's Kante and Kovacic then out from the centre midfield. It's quite big, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how serious the Kante one is. I think he just sort of pulled something again, but it didn't look particularly bad. The Chilwell one obviously looked quite bad when he done it. He stayed down, but I mean, as I say, Loftus-Cheek looked fantastic anyway. Like he looks a different player under Tuchel.
Well, I was thinking maybe about the left back thing. What left footers have you got in your team in terms of attackers? I think Ziyech, right? I think he's left footed.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be suited to maybe a wing back role.
No.
Pulisic,
it would be Hudson-Odoi for me, I think.
Hudson-Odoi, because he's played right back as well, hasn't he? Or right wing back.
Yeah. It'll be Cesar Aguero, or it'll be Hudson-Odoi for me that'll go back there. Obviously, if Alonso does the mistake that he's prone to sometimes.
Interesting stuff. So here's my team then from last week. 84.2 points, which is pretty decent. My transfer was Woodman to Steele. He got me 2.2 points, and better than having no goalkeeper, right? And then I got Trent, it did the business. James did the business. Matty Cash actually got me some points this week, Jack. That was pretty sick. Son, 3.3. He's peeing me off, let's be frank about it, in this game and in FPL. Salah, Jota, both coming in with points, which is good. Mount with a 3.3. Sarr with a 5.7 against my team, Man United. I think that was that fixture, right? Where Ollie got the boot. We'll probably talk about that in a second as well. Tony and Ronaldo both getting points, which is good. Semedo first on the bench, coming up with some good coverage, so overall happy with that. This week we're looking with Sanchez in goal, I'm going to save my transfer, I think, actually. We got Sanchez in goal, Trent, James, Cash, Semedo, Son, Salah, Jota, Mount, Tony and Ronaldo. So I'm more than happy with that. I got Sar's first sub. I got no Chilwell problems to worry about, so I think rolling and having the 2 free transfers next week suits me. Did any of you boys watch that United game against Watford?
Saw bits and pieces of it. United just looked, horrible and looked like they didn't have a clue what they were doing. And ultimately, it's got Ole the boot. I thought it was weird, the goodbye meeting, a little video. I thought that was a bit weird. Don't really see that anywhere. I thought that was very strange, but he was clearly loved by some of the players as well, because some of them, I mean, De Gea sort of stuck it to him, didn't he, in the
post-match
interview. But
yeah, he did. I thought that
there was a couple of the players there that sort of stuck up for him. You can see that he was loved. I kind of said in the summer that when you signed Ronaldo, I thought it's a great move. I get the move, but I thought it was the nail in Ollie's coffin.
Yeah,
that happened.
What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I like I said, Ronaldo's Ronaldo. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest player ever. Obviously, he's got the link with United. I just think when it all came out that he might be going to Man City, they just forgot about anything they'd done in the last 3 years and just were like, we're not letting him go to City. We'll have him. Because he was just everything they didn't need at that time. I know everyone would have Ronaldo, but the system they played, the players they got, you had Cavani that was that sort of elder statesman up top, really. You had Greenwood that was learning his trade there. Sancho had come in. They needed a Declan Rice or a Jude Bellingham. That's what they needed in the summer, really, on top of it. And I think that's it went against what he'd been building. I think you can't really ignore where the club was when he came in to where it was or where it is now even. I think he's changed the whole feel of the club, I feel, in terms of like the Man United way of doing it, I think. But I think he probably his lack of either experience or tactical sort of nous has probably sort of come to the fore. He's not a Klopp, he's not a Guardiola, he's not a Tuchel. I think he's gone as far as he could take them. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know a lot about the bloke that's come in the interim, but it'd be interesting to see what they do in the summer, because it could be that they then give him the job longer. And if Poch goes, which seems to be the rumoured manager, he still doesn't want anything. And that's always been the thing with Ollie. He didn't win a trophy. And then you're going to get another manager in that hasn't won a trophy. Well, I don't know if he's won anything in France, but
yeah, he's won the French Cup, but it's like their version of the Super Cup, basically.
Yeah,
it's nothing.
No, so it'll be interesting to see. I think they'll do all right, because I mean, from what Klopp and Tuchel have said about the new guy coming in, he's they've learnt a lot off him, haven't they? So he's obviously got to have something about him if two of the greatest managers in the league at the moment look up to him.
He managed Leipzig in the German league, and he's sort of got that program. He's something to do with Red Bull, so he's kind of got all them Red Bull clubs off the ground. Something that's what I heard today about him. So
yeah, I heard he was like technical director of both of them or something at the same time, wasn't he? Like the project rather than a club. But yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he. And I mean, he could have come in at a better time. Really, he's got a couple of what's he got? He's got Chelsea, Arsenal, but then he goes into an amazing run of fixtures, which does ring bells with what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came into, really. When he took over, he had a really good run of fixtures, won a load, and yeah. But we shall see. I agree with
you, Sean, though, with Ole. He come in, he done a job, he restructured the club, he got Man United playing again. He done the job, but I always said there would come a point that the job would be too big for him, but he done what he was meant to do, if you get what I mean. Yeah.
It would have been interesting to see how he did if Ronaldo wasn't there. This year would have been interesting, but
like you say, it's an odd move. Like you go and sign Sancho, Varane, like in the summer, young players, and like you say, you've got Greenwood there. You're building a young sort of team, and then you go and the only way I can compare it is like in NFL terms is you draft like a running back, an all-star running back, when your team's complete, kind of thing. That's kind of what you should have done with Ronaldo. Your team wasn't complete, and you brought Ronaldo in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I could liken it to.
Yeah, I agree with that. To be fair, it wasn't really the signing that we needed, although it's Ronaldo.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a Declan Rice or someone like that, someone to help us defensively.
Yeah.
As a United fan, everything I'm reading about Ragnarik, I'm not sure how you pronounce it yet. I didn't know much about him before, but everything I'm reading, it's really exciting, right? He's like the king of like gegenpress, like that real high intensity press in football that Poch used to play at Tottenham. Jurgen Klopp obviously plays and stuff like that. And he's coming in to do an interim manager's job, and then he'll step upstairs to be like a technical director or a director of football in this kind of consultancy role. So it seems as if then he'll have obviously a say in what manager comes in after him, based around the style of football that he wants United to play. And as a fan, it's just very exciting to have a kind of a plan for once, like an identity, something we can look to and see how the team's going to play, right? United as
ultimately,
like a
you need Woodward out that. You need Woodward out that club ultimately.
Yeah, 100%. But imagine that though, United. Imagine that United is like a Liverpool style, like heavy metal pressing team. It's pretty cool, right?
Does make you think how Ronaldo will fit into that team, though, into that style, because that's not his style, is it?
Well, that's the thing, and I saw an interview with Ragnick today on YouTube. It was only like a 10-minute thing, and he was saying he'd managed Roberto Firmino or something in the past, and he was talking about players like Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, and he said these guys weren't like, they didn't come fully formed, and they weren't like pressing monsters to start with. They were built and coached into being that type of player. So hopefully Ronaldo, you can, I know he's old, but hopefully you can just coach him into just saying, look, this is what I want you to do it. And if he doesn't last, just sub him off or whatever, I guess, if the age is an issue. So it's exciting. So I got the Game Week 13 monster fixtures up next. Norwich against Wolves is the first one, 3:00. We'll look at your guys' teams in a second. But spoiler, Sean, you've gone for Krul in goal, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, the keeper's the position, a bit like, I suppose, the sort of defensive special team in NFL. You build the rest of the team, and then you see what budget you've got left over at the end and try and get the best for it. Wolves don't create a huge amount of chances, and Norwich Wolves are the big favourites on this slate for the Fanteam game. So I just think Krul. He's made a lot of saves this season, obviously playing for Norwich. They keep a clean sheet last week, I think. I can't remember who they played. Oh no, they lost to Southampton, I think 2-1, didn't they?
Yeah, they conceded.
Yeah, Norwich won 2-1. Yeah,
but I think they have definitely improved in the last few weeks. Dean Smith's had a full week with them as well. And Villa were decent last season defensively as well. So I do think, given Wolves' lack of potency and Dean Smith coming in, I think I can't think what price he's, about 6.5 million. I think that is a decent price for him. So I think it'll be 1-0 Norwich in this game.
6.7 million, Tim Krul. So I'd imagine that's one of the cheapest. I can check that now. Jack, what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, similar. I think Norwich win this game. I think I do see Wolves scoring. I think Norwich will win this game 2-1, and you'll see that with my monster team because I've got Mr. Pookie back in.
Pookie, he's done you well, Jack. He has done you well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he won me some money 2 weeks ago. So no Pookie, no party, as they say.
So you got Ben Foster down at 5.6 actually against Leicester as the cheapest playing. Oh no, actually Fabianski and McCarthy, the two cheapest ones, Liverpool and Man City. But Ben Foster against Leicester looks quite good at that price, 5.6.
Yeah, Leicester aren't great, are they, at the minute? So a bit up and down. So it's not a bad one as well.
You'd see him scoring though, wouldn't you, really, Leicester, I guess?
You would think so. But then you thought Man U would score more than one last week. So
Donny van de Beek got the last goal.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you reckon about Crystal Palace, Aston Villa? Sean?
I think it'll be a really good game. I think Villa are going to do really well this year under Steven Gerrard. I think it'll be interesting to see how he sort of moulds that team a little bit. But I can see both teams scoring in this one, so I think it could be. I'm going to go 2-1 to Palace. This one.
My boy Matty Cash, 6.1 million in the monster this week, Jack. Do you think they concede against Crystal Palace?
I think they'll concede, yeah, but I mean, Crystal Palace leaked goals for fun as well. They just leaked 3 goals to Burnley in a 3-3 draw there. So I think there'll be goals in this game. I'm actually looking forward to it. Both exciting teams now. Gerrard's got a tune out of Villa last week, which was nice to see. Palace look really good going forward. I think you get a 2-2 draw here.
Interesting stuff. Ollie Watkins, 7.8 million. Could be an interesting one. Liverpool, Southampton. If Southampton keep a clean sheet against Liverpool at home, and this may sound crazy, but Alex McCarthy, the cheapest goalkeeper in the monster this week, could be on for a lot of points, right? That if you are watching, don't buy him. But it's just a thought that crossed my mind. What do you reckon about this game, Jack?
Yeah, I'm not buying into that one. I think Liverpool will absolutely batter them. You just saw what they've done to Arsenal, beat Arsenal 4-0, and Arsenal had kept, 8 clean sheets, was it? Or sorry, was it 8 clean sheets they'd kept or something? I don't know. But they've kept quite a few clean sheets going into that game. So, I mean, Liverpool just absolutely dominated them. So, yeah, I'm not going with the McCarthy one there, mate. Liverpool win this game comfortably, 4-0 again.
Looking at the prices here, Sean, there's no surprise to see Salah, the most expensive player in the monster this week, 14.7 million. Quite a chunk above the next most expensive player, who's also a Liverpool player, Sadio Mane. Jota then coming in at 13.1. Would you be grabbing yourself one or two of these?
Yeah, I think I've got Salah at the moment in my monster team. I just don't know why I don't like picking Salah. Just because I don't like going with the crowd. I think that's my problem. But yeah, I think although at the moment, if you look at the last 4 game weeks, Southampton have got the 3rd best stats, clean sheet, expected goals against. Only City and Chelsea are better. But then you dig into it a little bit more, and they've played Norwich, Burnley, Watford, and Villa. So it's not as though they've played attacking teams. But at this minute, you can't really look past Liverpool. They're just in great form. I don't really think Southampton are going to cause them too many problems either. So I think it'll be a Liverpool win with a clean sheet. So I'll go 3-0.
Southampton did keep a clean sheet away at Man City, though. Just saying, you know. So we got
They did just get beat 2-1 by Norwich as well.
That's true. The bookie party.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Brighton against Leeds next. A traditionally good defence against a traditionally good attack, I think you would say. Is that how you see this game panning out, Jack, or what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, Brighton have been a bit off, haven't they, the last few weeks? They got beat 2-0 by Villa last week, but we did sort of say that even though I favoured Brighton last week, we did sort of say when you get that new manager going there, you get that sort of positive vibes, and I think they get right this week. Leeds just concede so many goals. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brighton win.
Leandro Trossard, 10.3 million. Sean, Neil Mopay, 10.1 million. Overpriced or worth it against Leeds?
I don't think. I think Mopay is. He's not. I don't think he's played the last 2 or 3, which is odd because he played like every game, 90 minutes, and then all of a sudden he's just not played at all. I think Leeds could. I think they're still missing Ayling. I don't think he's back in this game, and neither's Bamford. But I do think over the last 6 weeks, their stats defensively have really improved. I think Calvin Phillips played centre back last weekend against Spurs. And pretty much from what I see on the highlights, had Harry Kane in his pocket. It didn't give him. And I think Kane stayed a lot more in the box, so that could be interesting if that is a change under Conte. But yeah, Leeds are 4th the last 6 game weeks in terms of expected goals conceded. So I do think they've improved defensively. So that's why, as much as I like the only attacking asset I'd go for Brighton is Trossard. I think he has all the shots. He's on sort of a few set pieces, and he looks the most threatening to score. But in this one, I fancy Leeds to perhaps win. Again, I don't think there'll be a huge amount of goals. I think Leeds could win 1-0. And I've got Rafinha in my monster team. I think he's the best attacker from Leeds as well.
Rafinha, I haven't got the prices up for Leeds. Jack?
I think he's quite cheap, yeah.
I'll have a little look now. Oh, 8.4 million. Here we are. So that's quite good, right? That's good. That's way cheaper than like Trossard, who's probably the best.
So they're pricing Leeds up as underdogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Next, we got Man City, West Ham. Antonio scored, I think, in this fixture last season. I think he might have got 2, actually. I can't quite remember. Do you think Antonio's a crazy pick this week, Jack, though?
I've got him in a season long, and I think that's enough for me. I don't think I'd go for him in the monster. My monster team is pretty similar to, defensively anyway, to my season-long teams, because I just don't think we can look past the fullbacks and those big three at the minute. I think they offer great clean sheet potential, and we know what they're like going forward for Cancelo, Trent, and Reece James. So the one I've picked out for this, I think, that could do quite well is Bernardo Silva. I think he has been, in terms of non-penalty XG, the last few weeks, he's like 4th, 5th or 6th in the league. He's had 4 shots on target in the last 4 games. So I did have Sterling in at one point, thinking he does quite well historically against West Ham. And then I thought Silva would be the safety net underneath. But I've got the exact money for Silva. So whenever I've got a zero balance left on a budget, I sort of think it's meant to be. So I think Silva could be a good punt in this one. He's been playing well recently. I think he scored the last 2 games.
Week. Yeah, he scored
last week United as well, didn't he? Yeah. So
you'd be quite bullish.
Yeah, I'd give Silva.
Yeah, I've been banging that drum for the last sort of month now. He's their best player. So yeah, he's in my monster. Shock horror as well. So
yeah, he comes up at 12.4 million. So he's like the around 6th most expensive Man City player. You got Phil Foden 13.5, De Bruyne 13.3, Jesus 13. Who's a forward, obviously, and then Mahrez 12.9, Sterling 12.8, and then Silva 12.4. I think he's a bit underpriced, personally.
I'd love to play Jesus in a few more monsters, but because, especially if you don't see the lineup, you just can't risk putting him in, because if he doesn't play, there's literally, I don't think there's any safety net. I don't know if Cole Palmer potentially is no, the only Man City player is Edozie. I don't even know who that is. So really, unless you can see the lineup for Man City, you can't be picking Jesus, just because if he doesn't start, you're playing with 10 men, which you can't afford to do.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So they've only got like 2 forwards registered. So yeah, if Edozie doesn't play, which obviously you don't expect him to, you wouldn't get that safety net. Interesting. Jack, let's move on to the next one. Leicester against Watford. Claudio Ranieri going back to his old scene of like so much emotions, I guess, and stuff for him in this fixture. What do you think the score's going to be?
I think Watford will win here. I think they're going to win. I think Watford win 2-1 here. They've got a bit of swagger about them under Ranieri, and Leicester just, I don't know, they look terrible. I don't know if it's gone to Rodgers' head about he's been linked with the Man United job, hasn't he? So I don't know if that's gone to his head. He just can't get a tune out of them players at the minute. They look terrible. I know they came up against Chelsea last week, and even as a Chelsea fan, we looked so good the last sort of month. But it just results before that as well. They've just been bad. I don't know. Watford have got a bit of swagger about them under Ranieri, and I think they'll win 2-1. They score a lot of goals. I know they beat you 4-1 last week as well, Reece, but
yeah,
I know a lot of people would say, "Oh, it's Man United," but that's still an impressive result against Man United, 4-1.
Interesting to see
down the bottom half there.
Josh King, 7.3 million, right? 3rd most expensive Watford player. Underpriced, do you think, Sean?
He's in my monster team, so I think he massively is. He tops He's top. He's had the most shots in the last 4 game weeks. He's had 17 shots. He's top of the non-penalty XG, 3.3. He's had 6 shots on target. He's top of a lot of the stats at the minute. And like Jack said, defensively, Leicester just look at a shambles. I don't know if Evans is back recently, but I think they missed him early in the season.
Yeah.
I think they missed Fofana as well. Obviously, he's out for the season. So I think, yeah. The only thing, and I think the positive with Josh King this week as well, Ismail Assar's not fit. I think he was ruled out today by Ranieri. So it could well be that King could be on penalties as well, which is always a nice thing to have as well. So I think he is he's vice captain in my team as well, but he's close to being captain potentially as well.
I was going to ask you about that actually, because I did hear something about Sarr not being available, but Fanteam have him still green here, and at 7.9 million, you don't really want to be picking someone who's in the late kickoff and being ruled out, right?
Yeah, I don't know who is safe, but I'm pretty sure I saw that Ranieri had sort of said that he wasn't going to play in this game.
Brentford Everton, I think there's going to be goals in this. Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, but Brentford scored, but they had a 3-3 draw last week against Newcastle. So Tony scoring again, and Canos as well, I believe, scored in that game. Everton they've just looked so poor, and talk about he's got to be the next manager on the sack list, surely, Mr. Benitez at Everton. So I think Brentford will win this game 2-0. Quite comfortably. Everton has been a massive letdown the last month.
Sean, I'm looking at Everton's team sheet here. 8.3 million for Calvert-Lewin, he's injured. 8.1 million for Richarlison, he's injured. 8.0 million for Damari Gray, he's like yellow flagged on Fanteam. Then you got Townsend 7.9 million, Decore 7.7 million, Rondon 7.4.
Yeah, they just until at least Decore comes back and Calvert-Lewin for that team, I just don't want to go near it. I think their attacking stats are like one of the worst since he went out. I think I saw a stat that in terms of shots on target this season, I think Townsend's had 10 for Everton. Second best is Calvert-Lewin with 7, and he's only played 3 games. I think that says a lot. We're 12 games in, and he's still second with shots on target.
That's mad.
I think, like Jack, I think Brentford will win this, and I think Tony will probably score. I've got him in my lineup again. At the moment, the armband's on Tony, but I think it will be between him and King. I think if you're going differential against Salah, I think one of those two.
Vice captain on him. He's in my lineup as well. So
yeah, I've heard through the grapevine as well that Everton's stats, like in the past several game weeks or whatever, defensively have been like shocking apparently. So Ivan Toney 9.8 million, Mbuemo 9.5, Canos 9.3, all decent shouts. Excuse me, I'm looking for Rico Henry down here because he's been banging some goals in, right? And if Everton are bad at the back, could be bad at the back and bad at the front. Could be a clean sheet and a goal for Henry. 7.8 million.
7.8 he is, yeah. I think he could, yeah. If you fancy Everton not to score, I think there are plenty of options in that. In fact, I don't know how much the keeper is. What's the keeper? 7.5. So it's not too expensive either for an Everton team that just haven't scored many goals recently. So
yeah, I'd be interested in Brentford for sure. Burnley versus Spurs. What's going to happen here, Jack? Is Son going to get points this week, or what's going to happen?
You're going to get the riot act from Antonio Conte this week. I'd be very surprised if I see Dele Alli put on the Spurs shirt ever again after last night.
What happened?
He was terrible. Just didn't care, strolling around. He was absolutely awful. I seriously, there was a couple of them last night, but Dele Alli, for me, I'd be very surprised if he puts us. Knowing what Antonio Conte is like as a manager, I'd be very surprised if he puts a Spurs top on ever again. Mr. Conte's there, but yeah, I think Spurs will get right in this game. As I said, I think Conte will read the right act a bit. I know Burnley scored 3 goals last week, but that was against Crystal Palace, who have a bit of a leaky defence. Spurs won last week, didn't they, in the Premier League?
I think they won, yeah. It's like a 2-1 or something.
2-1. Leeds.
Yeah. So they won 2-1. You saw a bit of the wingers, like the wing backs in that game, doing what Conte wants to do, basically. So I think Spurs get right. I don't think. I think it'll be one of them games because Burnley are just they're a brutal team to play against. Like they're a hard team to play against. I think Spurs nick it 1-0 though.
Son Heung-min 10.8 million. Harry Kane 10.4 million. Why do you think they've gone that way, Sean, and pricing Son so much more? Well, I say so much more, 0.4 more than Harry Kane.
I just think you probably got a few more points with Son. So if you get the clean sheet, you get extra points for the goal and stuff like that. But I just can't. I think Burnley will score. I don't think Spurs are that decent at the back yet. Whether they will be, given a few more games with Conte, I'm not too sure. But I don't know who even's going to play at the back. I know Romero had an injury, didn't he? So I don't know what the back three, if he's playing the back three, will be in terms of the centre back. So I could see Priestwood potentially scoring. I imagine he's relatively cheap, 7.4. So, and then you've got. I like all the midfielders from Burnley, really. It's more in the season long, really. So people like Westwood and McNeil are just solid picks for the season long. But you want impact players, really, for the monsters. So I'm swerving the Spurs players just because I just don't trust them. I think there are better options at the moment. So I've not gone with them. But I could see. I think both teams will score. It's just whether Spurs can eke out a 2-1 again, or if it'll be 1-1. I think.
You're going to hate my monster team then.
Laurie Seagull, spoilers.
Yeah, like the last time I done that, he scored. He had like 4 goals conceded against him. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
So we got Cornet 7.8 million, Chris Wood 7.4 million. If you fancy Burnley to score like Sean does, I can see it happening. To be fair, they're not good at the back. Last game then, Chelsea versus my team, Manchester United. Sean, what do you think?
Something in my gut just I think Man U will score. I just feel like Man U will score. I feel like they'll put on a performance. I don't think he's going to be in charge for this game, is he? I don't think he's got his work permit through. But it'd be I don't know how Carrick will set up though. I think he might go defensive. He went defensive in Europe, didn't he? Quite defensively. But yeah, I can see United scoring. I say this. In my monster team, I've got both Chelsea fullbacks, just because although I might think United will score, you can't. The stats this year have been mental for Chelsea, and going forward for James and Alonso, I've got in currently. Their attacking output, I think, is going to be. It's just as good, just as strong as the clean sheet potential. So, yeah, I think Chelsea will win it. It's just whether they keep a clean sheet. That's the thing that I'm not too sure on. But
Alonso 9.2, was it 9.2? Hold on. Yeah, 9.2 million for Alonso. Mendy 9.4 million. Someone I know who you like a lot, Jack. Well, you like a lot of them, don't you? You're a Chelsea fan. What's your thoughts on this game? It's the Jack versus Reece Darby, right?
I do kind of agree with what Sean said. I could see Man United scoring. I think Chelsea win. I am certainly playing Reece James in my monster this week. The guy is just incredible. He's the best right back in the world at the minute for me. I don't care what anyone says. It's just absolutely outstanding what he does. I put a little tweet out the other day. I was like, could you imagine he'd started that European final against Italy? They would have not known what to do against him. He's just been outstanding, and Man United are so leaky at the back. Like Sean says, I do think Man United will score, but Chelsea do also have Man United's number. Chelsea have been somewhat of a bogey team over years, like over the last years, decades really, for Man United. So Chelsea win 3-1.
Who did play right back in that game then, the Euros final?
Trippier. Was it Trippier?
Carl Walker.
I thought he played back. I thought Walker was.
Oh yeah,
back three.
Yeah, it was Trippier. Yeah, it was Trippier. You're right. Yeah.
Wing back was it? Oh, I see.
Yeah. The thing to bear in mind with the Chelsea game as well. Obviously, Maguire suspended because of the Watford game.
Yeah.
So
no Maguire, no Varane.
So I'm guessing it's Lindelof and Bailly. I'm guessing. I can't believe they've not even priced up Phil Jones. Disgusting. Disgusting.
Is he still there?
He's still there.
Oh God.
You know,
I'll tell you one more injury and he's out. So.
Alex Ferguson once said that Phil Jones could go on to be one of Man United's greatest ever players.
I tell you what, just before you move on about Phil Jones and Ferguson, someone sort of said, I was listening to, I think it was TalkSport, someone went on there the other day saying about Ferguson and the fact that he needs to get out of the club. He has too much say in what's going on.
Yeah, I listened to. Did you listen to that? Did you? I listened to that as well.
Yeah.
Like a guy phoned up, right?
I was wondering what your thoughts were on it.
I actually listened to that as well because I listen to TalkSport quite a lot, and I heard it and I was like, "What is this guy on about?" He's like, "Ferguson needs to get out of the club. He's had too much influence, and the reason Ollie got sacked was because of Ferguson." So, oh my gosh!
I doubt Ollie got sacked because of Ferguson, but I mean, he did bring David Moyes there. To be fair.
Well, yeah, he did. He did have a massive hand in that. But we've seen what David Moyes is doing at West Ham now. He's not a bad manager, is he?
Yeah. No, he's not a bad manager. No.
What he did in Everton at the past as well.
Ferguson left him a very bad squad back then. So
yeah, Ferguson worked miracles with like a really average squad. I think Van Persie, his instructions basically would just get the ball to Van Persie and he'll score the goals.
Yeah.
And if the players didn't do that, apparently then they got the hairdryer.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we need to do. We need to go back to that. Just get the ball to Ronaldo, who's 7.5 million in the Monster this week. Just to say.
Yeah, I saw that. He's very cheap.
Cheap, right? You tempted?
Yeah.
I can't remember seeing if you've got him or not.
Yeah, I would. The guy just scores goals. So like, I know I said Chelsea win the game 3-1, but if someone's going to score for Man United, it's going to be Ronaldo, isn't it? So he just scores goals. I looked at it. I was like, I'm tempted there, but obviously it's against my team, so I'm not going to go there. But
So I got your team up on screen now, Jack. Do you want to talk us through it? Lloris in goal.
Yeah, I've gone back to Lloris, who burned me. It must have been about 6-7 weeks ago now. He absolutely burned me in the game. I've got the best right back in the world there, Reece James. I've got my favourite Bernardo Silva in midfield. He's anchoring up my midfield there. I love that. I just say I always sort of pivot away from Salah in these monsters, and last couple of weeks I've been just captaining Mane, which has been working out well because he's been scoring. So I've gone with Mane there. My front three of Pukki, Tony, and Benteke. I like Benteke this week, and like Sean mentioned, it's just the stats for him in the last sort of few weeks has just been unreal. So I like Benteke, and again between him and Pukki, I think they're going to be sort of a lower owned players. And yeah, the rest of it is just, again, I brought in Canos. I don't know if Sean can tell me, Canos doesn't play for 90 minutes a lot, does he?
I want to say, I think the stats the other day, I think he's played something like 7 or 8 of the 12. So he's not far off, but yeah, he's not a constant like a Tony is that's played. I think there's only 3 of them left now. There's only 3 attackers that have played every minute. So you've got Tony, Salah, and Declan Rice, but the only 3. But yeah,
well, I've got Jota in. He's another one, isn't he? He doesn't play the 90 minutes all the time, but I've got Jota in there. Hopefully, he just gets a goal. Reguilon, who I believe scored last week for Tottenham.
yes.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So as I say, and Firmino of Watford there. So
I think he scored as well. And
I like
that
the team.
Offside against United.
Yeah, so I like the team. It's different. Like it's obviously there's no Salah there, but I'm going for these lower owned players, and it worked for me 2 weeks ago. So I'm just going to keep rolling with it going forward. I
like the Mane shout quite a lot. That's quite good. I like the thinking behind that, like going a little bit against the crowd. And yeah, I got a feeling Salah's going to get rested in one of the next 3 Premier League games.
Yeah.
I think looking at historically, I think around this time of year, he gets at least 1 rest over winter. But with the form that he's in, will that happen? I don't know. But if it's this week...
I don't understand why they played him midweek, because they were through already, weren't they? And they played Salah.
Oh, really? I didn't realise they were through.
Yeah. Did they win? I can't remember their result in midweek.
Yeah, they won. Oh, yeah, because it was Thiago's goal, wasn't it?
He scored that, yeah.
Yeah. So I think they won 2 or 3-0, weren't it?
Yeah.
Maybe he won't get rested then if they're willing to play him in like meaningless or seemingly meaningless games. That's interesting.
I mean, they've got two Premier League games in a row, haven't they? You've got this weekend, then you got some midweek, then another the week after, and then I think the midweek after that is Champions League. So you would assume that he wouldn't play then, but then he did this last season. I think he bemoaned the fixture schedule, then kept playing his big players, and then one of them, I can't remember who was that got injured last year. It might have been Jota maybe. So he doesn't seem to learn from his mistakes. Really.
Yeah, I'll tell you what will be interesting, Sean. Actually, you mentioned about the African Cup of Nations earlier. It'd be interesting if some of these bigger players, if it does go ahead, if some of these sort of bigger players like Salah, etc., just say no, I'm not going.
Yeah,
over fears of it. It will be interesting.
I think Egypt are one of the favourites to win it as well. So you'd think if he goes, he'll be there for the. I think they won't miss too many games because I think we've got like a winter break.
Yeah,
I think there's like an international
winter.
Yeah, there's like an international break where I think a lot of the other countries, either you've got the African Cup of Nations, I think South America have got qualifiers. A lot of the European teams will have like 2 weeks off. So I don't think they actually miss maybe 2 or 3 games when they're away. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do sort of pull out.
Sean, we got you next. Tim Krul in goal. Do you want to talk us through your team?
Yeah, so like I said, I've gone Krul in goal just because I think they've got a decent shout of a clean sheet. I've got a back four of Alonso, James, Cancelo and Alexander-Arnold. So I just think clean sheet potential and massive attacking potential. With Alonso, we won't see the team because it's the last game, isn't it? So if he doesn't play, I think you pick up Azpilicueta as the sort of safety net. And if it's not him, you get Rudiger. So I'd be happy enough with, I think the upside to Alonso, if he does play, isn't too bad if Azpilicueta comes in. Like Jack, I've got Silva. I've got Salah in there. So I've got him in there, but I've not captained him. Which does make me think, if I've got him, I think, do you either go without him, or if you have him, do you have to captain him? I don't know if it's sort of a halfway house having him and not captaining him, but he's in a minute. I've got Rafinha because I think he didn't play last weekend, so as long as he's fit. I don't know when Leeds play Brighton. Did they play Saturday? Or is it? Maybe look on their fixtures again. No, it's a Sunday, so you won't necessarily know if he's playing. But I think the play you get for him is Dan James. Oh no, it's not. It's Jack Harrison.
Yeah, Jack.
He's still all right. So, and then I've got a front three of King, Watkins, and Tony. I love Ollie Watkins. He plays 90 minutes every week. I think he's going to massively improve under Gerrard. He scored last week as well. King, like I said, tops all the stats playing against Leicester, and then Tony again plays 90 minutes. So I don't think there's any bigger strikers, so to speak, that I'd rather have, like a Kane or Ronaldo. I'm happy enough with those 3 this week.
Looking at the flags on Fanteam, Danny Ings is green and Watkins is green as well. Did anybody watch the Gerrard Aston Villa team? Can you tell me how they lined up? Did Watkins play out wide maybe, or?
I think he did. I think he played Ings through the middle. So I think he definitely played 4 at the back. So I'm guessing he played 4-2-3-1 because I think he played McGinn and Nakamba or Louise was the 2 in the holding role.
Yeah.
So I think he played Bailey, Buendia, and Watkins. But I don't know if he perhaps had Watkins behind Ings. I'm not too sure, but I think Villa look a better team with Watkins up top for me. But again, I think he's a sort of player that will do. I think he'll be like Morelos was at Rangers. I think he'll do well under Gerrard. So I'm happy enough to roll with him for this monster, especially.
Looking good, Jack. We got your NFL monster up next. Do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, I'll talk through it. So I've gone with Kirk Cousins as my quarterback in the San Francisco 49ers and Minnesota Vikings game. I like doing a stack, as I've mentioned before, of my quarterback. So my stack is he's wide receiver 1, Justin Jefferson, who went over 100 yards last week for 2 touchdowns. And I always do a bring back in the same game. So I've gone for George Kittle at tight end for the San Francisco 49ers. He's got 3 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. I really like that game. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. So that's why I've attacked it there. I've gone for Tyler Boyd as my second wide receiver on this team. A lot of people will be like, I don't know about that. But Tyler Boyd, the Steelers give up the most yards to slot receivers on the season. And Tyler Boyd plays all of his snaps out of the slot pretty much. So he got going last week as well for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I actually really like him this week for the matchup, and he was quite cheap to get in. I've gone for Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's just absolutely solid. They play the Denver Broncos, who are just beat up on defense now as well. So I think Justin Herbert gets going this week, and he'll be going to his favourite option there with Keenan Allen. I've got Christian McCaffrey in. I was a little bit worried with Christian McCaffrey because this isn't running back. Sorry, I was a little bit worried with Christian McCaffrey because the Carolina Panthers just changed out their quarterback to Cam Newton, who's a mobile quarterback. So I was a little bit worried, and I had to see what the production would be like for Christian McCaffrey, but it was normal Christian McCaffrey levels. He still got in and still done the business. So he's the most expensive running back on the slate, but I don't care. He's the number one running back in all of football, so you play him. I've gone for Miles Sanders for the Philadelphia Eagles against my New York Giants. The Giants get absolutely destroyed by everyone at the minute at every position. And Jordan Howard is out for the Eagles this week, who was seeing a lot of touches. So Miles Sanders should go back to he's an elite running back anyway, so he should go back to his dominant number one role there. Melvin Gordon. So I've done like a mini stack on my build here with the Denver-LA game. Melvin Gordon just keeps scoring touchdowns. I kind of want the Javonte Williams breakout, as does most of the NFL community, but we're getting a 50-50 split with the two running backs, and Melvin Gordon's getting the value touchdown. So I've chucked in Melvin Gordon here, and I've gone for a cheap defense this week. It's the New York Jets against the Houston Texans. The Texans are actually more expensive. I get that because they're the home team, but the New York Jets are a better defense for me. It's in a game that's going to be absolutely horrible. So that's my team. We'll see what it does. I've been doing well the last couple of weeks, but we'll see what this one does.
What's your thoughts on this one, Sean?
I'm happy that I've got four. I've did one earlier. I've got four the same. I've got Jefferson, Cousins, Sanders, and Gordon. I've actually gone the opposite to Jack in the defensive team. I've put the Texans in. I just think they will get a lot of joy out of Zach Wilson. I think he could first game back. I think he's the only quarterback. I think they've had to draft a quarterback from their practice squad, haven't they? Because I think they've got one of them's got COVID and another one's a close contact or something. So I think they could get a few turnovers potentially. I've gone Dylan. I know Jack's a big fan of Dylan at running back for the Packers. I think he will do quite well against the Rams this week. I've gone for Chase at wide receiver. So the same sort of reasons as Jack for attacking Pittsburgh. I've just gone for that. Could be because I haven't got him in my season long, and I wanted to transfer him in last week when I missed the deadline. So it's probably me just covering myself really with it. But he's a good option as well.
Yeah,
I've then gone Chris. I've got Chris Godwin at the Bucks. I don't think Mike Evans is still questionable at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, Antonio Brown's out, so you've it's I like Godwin.
So I think he'll get a lot of the action. And I've then gone Kyle Pitts in the Jags versus Falcons game because I think that a bit like the Texans and the Jets will be it's not a great game, is it?
No.
But he seems to be Ryan's main target, really. So I've gone for him as tight end. But see how it goes.
Yeah, no, I don't hate them picks either. I'm a bit wary of. I mentioned this last night. I'm a bit wary of Kyle Pitts just because the Jags defense in the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks has got going. So I'm a little bit wary with the whole of the Falcons offense, which is just terrible outside of Kyle Pitts anyway. There was another little cheaper option at tight end that I really like this week, and it's Evan Ingram of my New York Giants. The New York Giants are just beaten up at wide receiver, and the Philadelphia Eagles have given up the most touchdowns on the season to opposing tight ends and the most yards in the last 2 weeks to opposing tight ends. So I really like Evan Ingram. I think he was like 8.5 million.
Yeah, I mean, tight end's always the position, isn't it, where you're a bit like, is Hunter Henry going to be available? Because he's he's put as questionable on Fanteam, so I'm not too sure because he's obviously him and Mac Jones are connecting at the moment, aren't they? So
yeah, I mean he's
got
got
another one. I'm
I think he's
by.
got like 4 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks.
Mm.
Hunter Henry, he's just an end zone. That's all you need from your tight end, really. You just need them to get into the end zone.
Yeah, definitely. No, sounds good.
So I've just been looking at the weather forecast, right? Because I've heard reports of all these storms going on. Big winds going on around the UK, right? Up in Liverpool, there's talk of potential postponements and stuff like that to the game. So I just thought I'd bring that up. Quite interesting. Have you guys seen any of this?
As a non-Salah owner in FPL, I would love it. Especially everyone will be captaining him. They'll probably go and get their vice captain. But yeah, it has made me wary on a couple of things to bring in. I know it's probably a minor and not that likely it's going to happen, but we've been burnt. I think it was it just pre-COVID? I think it was Man City, Arsenal. I think it was one of the last games before they postponed a load of them. And I think he sort of got burnt by captain someone in the Man City team, and obviously it then got called off. So I always try and split the captaincy and vice captaincy over the two, which is making me a bit wary of bringing in any Liverpool players just in case. In a minute, but I think with the Monster, I think they're the 3 o'clock kickoff, aren't they, on the Saturday? So I think we would know if it was going to get cancelled or not pre the Monster.
Yeah, 3 o'clock. Yeah, and same as you, I got burnt. I think it was 2 seasons ago in FPL. I captained like Aguero or something, and I think I vice captained probably De Bruyne, and the game got called off. And then of course no captain. So I've always been the same like you ever since that day, that fateful day. Always made sure that I split my teams in terms of captaincy and vice captaincy. So maybe that's something, if there's anyone who's watching who wants to any tips in terms of postponements and games getting called off. Jack, have you got any plans coming up? We're just about to end the stream now. I know you're very poorly. Has it just been a couple of days? You've had the flu, or are you hoping to be fighting fit soon?
No, it just sort of come on last night, really, and then obviously I went to work today and it's just gradually got worse. Probably doesn't help where I work with dust and paint fumes and everything else, so probably doesn't help it either. But I'm just gonna take some, as soon as we jump off here, I'm taking some night nurse and I'm going to sleep for a long time. So.
Get yourself to bed, Jackie boy. Sean, what have we got planned up on the old Fanteam Focus? Anything exciting coming up?
We've got, all being well, I think Jack's got a something on Sunday. I don't know who did you say it was with? I can't remember who said it was with now.
I'm doing a show with Sean on Sunday. A live stream, but be at 2 p.m.
Yeah, that'll be going through the sort of the red zone for 6 o'clock. Hopefully, I might get a few bits out on the on Twitter, just around a few picks for the Monster. There'll be the usual tweets and stuff for ownership that come out during all the games when the teams are announced. I don't know what we're going to do next week yet in terms of, because obviously there's a set of fixtures in the middle of the week. So we might just try and get a couple of articles out, just previewing the next, because I don't think the next Monster's out yet. I'm guessing from Fanteam anyway, because I think the game's on Tuesday as well. So it's going to be a quick turnaround between the two Monsters. So as soon as that comes out, we'll try and do some bits for that. And then all being well, we'll be back next week with another stream.
Happy days. I think that's it then, guys. Thanks for joining me, especially to you, Jack, for coming on in their conditions. Get well soon. Get your night nurse down you. Anyone who's watching, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe if you're new, if you're old, if you haven't subscribed yet. And see you later.